By now, it is easy to see that the UK is slipping. Yet English remains the most widely spoken language in the world. Students in many countries who want to graduate or compete in the tough job market cannot do without an English certificate. In the UK today, social ills such as drugs have become worse as the number of people seeking treatment has doubled in the last 2 decades. Public services such as transport and health have collapsed, while they were once the pride of the UK. Towns and villages that have existed for centuries are being abandoned as residents leave in droves in hopes of finding a better life elsewhere. In fact, the country is experiencing an exodus of its most valuable citizens. More and more of the rich and young are leaving because they see less opportunity at home than abroad. I mean, if you follow the news, you will have noticed that the gloomy atmosphere is not only covering the UK, but also most of the countries in Europe. Even the 2 leading countries, Germany and France, are facing a double economic and political crisis. 2 governments collapsed in the same month, right at the most dangerous and challenging time for the EU. We've talked about it before, but the situation in the UK is arguably worse. Because they have so many problems, it's hard to know where to start. So let's first look at some statistics. For example, more than 2.5 million patients have to wait more than 3 weeks to see a doctor. This is just one example of how overwhelmed public services in the UK are. But to get a sense of the depth of the recession and the length of the slide, we need to look at the bigger picture. Independent businesses have closed, replaced by ventilator shops, takeaways, and phone repair shops. Meanwhile, buildings that were once a source of British architectural pride and heritage have fallen into disrepair. You can see the situation in any neighborhood outside London. Take Port Good, for example. Not long ago, it was a wealthy area. The neighborhood was filled with cute bakeries, butchers, etc. Unfortunately, one of the last independent businesses in Port Good closed over the summer and was turned into a fast food joint. Most of the shops and businesses in Port Good were forced to close. In their place were fast food joints, coffee shops, phone booths, and electronic ventilators. The only ones left are the charity shops, which don't need to pay for their goods. In short, there is still some money circulating in the community, but the local people have lost the opportunity to build a better life. Most of these jobs have no real growth potential. Even becoming a store manager would only earn a few pounds an hour more than the minimum wage, barely enough to get by. And even these jobs are hard to come by in a job market so competitive that the UK economy seems to have no room for new businesses. Even in the richest parts of the country, countless shops were abandoned. The further north you went, the worse it got. Most of these towns and cities relied on industry, so when the factories and mines closed in the 70s and 80s, they were cut off like a car running out of fuel. They did not collapse, they simply went into a tailspin. The reasons behind this tragedy are clear. As the economy shifted from industry and manufacturing to finance, education, and technology, as globalization took hold and traditional export industries were wiped out, Britain became increasingly unable to compete with cheaper foreign goods. This is nothing new. Almost every developed economy faces similar problems, but not all. All have experienced community collapse, leaving towns and cities in ruins. The reason the situation in the UK is particularly bad is because of a lack of investment in these places. According to public policy research, since the mid-1990s, the UK has been last in the G7 for private investment. The UK's ranking is not much better when compared to smaller developed economies, coming in 28th out of 31 OECD economies. But that's not the only problem. The UK's welfare state also hampers economic productivity. Rather than encouraging and supporting people to find work, it provides an alternative to not having to work. Particularly in left-behind areas, long-term unemployment is at an all-time high. Many of these people are relying on government subsidies to survive, and inevitably some are just gaming the system to get free money while giving nothing back to the economy. Then there are those who are secretly working but still applying for subsidies. By not checking carefully, the government is wasting a significant amount of money. By 2023, that figure will be nearly £10 billion. Much of it is due to benefit fraud. But that's not the biggest problem. The key here is the effectiveness of government welfare. Because right now the system is more of a solution for those who don't want to work than a way to get people back to work. The key is a lack of opportunity. Welfare can help you pay the rent and have some money left over to live on, but it's rarely enough to improve your situation when you're surrounded by crime, poverty, and rundown neighborhoods with no real job prospects. People are falling into the welfare trap, racking up debt, and staying stuck in their current situation. And what has made things worse over the past 2 decades, ironically, has been the shift to e-commerce. Even without big factories, many towns could survive for a while. But online shopping has taken away one of the last sources of revenue for local businesses. The UK economy has really fallen behind the curve, especially in the towns, leaving them desolate and empty. Then, at the same time, the COVID lockdown dealt the final blow, wiping out all the shops' revenues. But rent still has to be paid, so the last remaining shops are selling things to satisfy people's addictions. From ventilators to takeaways to betting shops, few businesses remain. The government has been inept in taxing. In fact, many councils in the UK are bankrupt. The UK's outdated system makes it difficult for local authorities to tax online purchases. This is because the central government has cut spending and tightened its belt over the past few decades. It's no surprise that many local authorities have gone bust. As a result, they are failing to provide people with the opportunity to have a good quality of life. This atmosphere of pessimism is pervading Britain, and it almost guarantees that those who grow up in these circumstances will not have a good chance of building a good life. Especially when a large number of children in the UK do not even go to school. Poverty causes problems such as crime, drug use, depression, etc. Social ills that can take years to overcome or never do. As people's living conditions get worse, they become less concerned about where they live. They have become hotspots for vice, from littering to drug use to the worst crimes. The government has also tried to clean up these places, making them livable in the short term. But it is an uphill battle. Once a negative culture takes root, it is very difficult to eradicate. This also brings us to the difficult issue of immigration. Everything we have talked about so far would have happened even without immigration. But the massive level of immigration into the UK has been a major factor in its decline. The UK has agencies to deal with the problems I have mentioned above, but they have been overwhelmed by the sheer number of people who need help. In the past 3 years, an estimated 2.4 million more people have arrived in the UK than left. Many politicians and CEOs secretly love immigration as a way to improve productivity. Indeed, many essential industries cannot survive without migrant workers. From healthcare to construction, in many ways the benefits have not outweighed the costs. Public services are now completely overwhelmed. Rents, waiting times for doctors, almost all the complaints people have about the city would be much less if it weren't for the nearly 2.5 million people who crowd the city. And the worst thing for Britain is that this is not the worst. This is just the beginning, and the end result will be that everyone lacks the opportunity for a better life. The inevitable consequence is that everyone who can is leaving Britain in search of something better. One of the most important groups fleeing is young people, who have the time and ambition to start anew in another country. Today, more than 30% of 18 to 24-year-olds in the UK are seriously considering the possibility, reflecting a level of skepticism about the country's prospects. And with so many young people leaving, it means the government is left running a country where a large proportion of people are not working. Britain has an aging population, so the future is going to be increasingly difficult for young people. Pensioners will control more votes, leading to more policies that benefit this age group. It's not just young people who are leaving, older people who can afford it are also leaving. The government has raised taxes, leading to an exodus of the rich, who are the biggest contributors to the economy. By 2028, the UK is expected to lose more millionaires than any other country in the world. Like it or not, the rich are the ones who own businesses and create jobs. And without tax revenue and their impact on the economy, the situation will get worse. The country is in recession, it's a tragedy. Questions are unanswered. Is Britain really at rock bottom and ready to bounce back? What do you think about the current situation in the UK? Let me know in the comments. Now goodbye and see you again.